You're listening to an Airwave Media podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Essentia. A better you starts with better hydration. Essentia is on a mission to inspire people to do what matters most. Their proprietary ionization process transforms water from any source into ionized alkaline water, providing water that's 99.9% pure with a pH of 9.5 or higher. Essentia Overachieving H2O, the #1 ionized alkaline water. Shop now.
Sergeant and Mrs. Smith, you are going to love this house.
Is that a tub in the kitchen?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Recorded in Chicago, Illinois, with your hosts, Ken, Matt, Neal, and Jeff. This is Triviality.
Hello and welcome to Triviality, the game where a lack of seriousness meets a little bit of knowledge. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm good. You stared right into my soul while you read that.
Neal, how you doing?
Doing all right. Feeling a little bit more a little bit of knowledge today.
Oh, that's a change.
Yeah, it is a change.
Yeah, we're all about the lack of seriousness usually, but...
And the man on the internet screen here, the man who told me Bitcoin was a waste of money in 2012, Matt, how you doing today?
It's always important to buy the top. That's what you have to do. I thought you should wait and buy 2 years ago.
Don't appreciate it, but thanks for the advice.
Do you still have some Bored Apes, Matt?
I do not have any Bored Apes. No,
they're all gone. Off to the pasture.
You're not invited onto the yacht anymore.
I sold them to Snoop Dogg. It was a good investment.
Well, Matt and I might not have any Bored Apes, but we have some very cool guests to join us today.
We have some very bored listeners.
Very bored listeners from that conversation, yeah. Our first guest is returning to host basically about a year ago from the time of recording. Their episode released, and it was called the Sally Fields Medal. Great episode. Coming to us from San Antonio, Texas, Oakland 5 supporter on Patreon, Stephen Leckbee. How are you, Stephen?
I'm doing well. It's good to be back on. I've been looking forward to it. So,
yeah, we're so excited to have you back. And just to remind the folks at home what you're up to.
So I'm currently serving in the U.S. Air Force. I'm stationed here in San Antonio at Fort Sam Houston on the Joint Base San Antonio. 18 years this past August, and so I'm kind of looking towards retirement. That'd be pretty cool. I'm the youngest of 8 children, which will come into play for today's theme when we get there.
Okay.
That sounds exciting. Well, yeah, thank you so much for joining us and for your service. And we're also excited to meet for the first time and have on the show from Lincoln, Nebraska, Oakland 5 supporter on Patreon, Sam Kesselring. How are you, Sam?
I'm wonderful. I'm excited to be here for my first time. So thank you guys for having me.
Of course. We're excited to have you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to.
Yep. So I'm currently a doctoral candidate in the school psychology program at University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Go Big Red, I guess. I'm a Bills fan living in Chiefs Kingdom, so it's very interesting. And funny enough,
time
Stephen,
for you right now, actually.
And funny enough, Stephen, I'm actually the 7th out of 8 children. So both of us from big families that's a pretty cool thing to share. So.
Oh, well, look at that. We got I don't know how many is that total if everyone's siblings joined, even ours. That'd be a lot of people. It'd be like a big party, but 20 plus. But thank you so much, Sam, for being a guest today. You're going to partner with Matt today, and you have a team name that you like playing with that we thought was fun. What's your team name going to be?
Yeah, so a spinoff of peer reviewed as grad students. We are beer reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, beer reviewed.
Last night I had a Rolling Rock, and it was bad, if that helps.
That's Matt's new side project.
That's my beer review.
And Jeff, you had a great team name. We're going to partner today. Ken is going to scorekeep and add some commentary.
Yeah, so in the vein of pursuing one's PhD, normally at the end you have to defend your dissertation. And so today we're going to be a little bit different. We're going to be dissertation offended. So
I love it. Well, let's go to the rules first because Stephen's going to give us a little bit of an update for his game afterwards. But let's go right to the rules and see how the game is played.
The rules of the game are simple. 20 questions split into 2 rounds worth 10 points apiece. At halftime, there'll be a special swing round designed by this week's host. After regulation, players will enter the final round with the points that they've accumulated and will have a chance to wager 0 to 30 points on 5 categorized questions. At the end of the game, someone will be named the cream of the crop.
Oh my god, you guys, you're like the cream of the crop right now.
Darren was very into his WrestleMania era because that just aired last night and then today, but he sounded like Macho Man a little bit.
Yeah, I'm glad he finally busted out that impression for us.
Yeah, thank you, Darren.
After all these years.
Stephen, tell us what the update to your game is. We're ready to go.
So the theme for the game today, as I said, I come from a very large family. And so what I did is I queried my family and I said, give me 3 of your favorite things to my nieces and nephews, significant others, and my siblings and parents. And so they gave me that list. And then I used that list, choosing one per person, to create a question based on one of those favorite things. And so the first round is going to consist of my parents and my siblings, and going down from age order. It's going to leave my brother off because my brother was the one that got me into trivia. So he actually wrote the swing round for us today. So
Cool.
My brother will be the swing round. And then the second round, since my brother's being left out, there'll only be 9 questions in the first round. Now, the second round, I have 11 nieces and nephews, and so we'll make up that question in the second round. And it's the same format, go from oldest to youngest of the nieces and nephews, taking 1 question from each. And then the final round today, which will be the 5 questions, those are going to be the significant others, going in age downward.
Very
this
cool.
is Triviality family style.
Yeah, this is buffet, Triviality buffet. Almost.
And the numbers worked out suspiciously perfectly, really.
Well, thank you to Stephen's family. Well, hopefully, maybe thank you, I guess. We'll see how hard the game is.
We'll decide afterwards.
Go ahead and take it away.
All right, so number 1, this is for my father. My dad, he is a really big fan of the Eagles. And so this question is based upon that. So the Eagles are one of the most successful bands of all time. And despite all that success, they would break up in the 1980s. But in 1994, they appeared together in a music video for a cover of their song Take It Easy, which eventually led to the band reuniting. What alliteratively named country music star who actually did that cover is credited with causing the band to reunite?
That was the first one I wrote down because I don't know if I know anymore.
Let's go ahead and lock
You
that in.
fulfilled the category.
We're going to lock in.
All right, so they're locked in. When he said that his dad was an Eagles fan, I was really excited to get a Randall Cunningham question, but it did not happen. So we're talking about the band. Do you have any idea here?
Oh, my mom's going to be mad. I listened to country music growing up with her. I'm trying to think of alliterative,
From the 90s, right? So
yeah.
My first thought was Travis Tritt, which is a alliterative countryman.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't, all the other ones from that era, it's like Reba and
I was trying to think Loretta Lynn, but I don't know if that was 90s, and I don't know if it's from
Loretta Lynn, I
male
think,
or
is
female.
older. I think those are,
That's what
70s and 80s. Are you good locking in with Travis?
Yep, sounds great.
All right.
Yeah, we tried not to think about this one too hard. Jeff and I both wrote down Travis Tritt, and we're hoping it's right.
And with that, both teams are going to get points. I always forget how really good at trivia you guys are. I thought that one might be a little hard. Also, going back to Loretta Lynn, that's actually one of my family's favorite films of all time, which is A Coal Miner's Daughter, which is the story of Loretta Lynn.
Great movie. Yeah.
All right, so I'll go ahead and move on to question 2. This is for my mom. So my mother enjoys to play games with her friends like Bunko and different things, and she'll play games with family as well. One of her favorite games is a dice game that is believed to have originated in the 1980s, but was commercialized in the 90s by Legendary Games. In the game, you play with 6 standard 6-sided dice, and the goal is to get to 10,000 points. Now, you accomplish this by getting 2 to 6 of the same dice face on a roll, and that gets you a certain number of points. Or you can roll a 1 or a 5, and the 1 will give you 100 points, and the 5 will give you 50 points. Now, if at any time during your turn you roll and you don't score, your turn ends and you get 0 points. So it's kind of a gambling game. You want to end before you get to the point where you can't roll any scoring dice. And I need to know what is the name of that dice game.
I'm terrible with games, so I know you're a game person.
Hey, you know what's funny? I also know that is a dice game, and that was going to be my guess because I've never played it, and I have no idea how.
All right, we're going to lock in.
All right, they're taking a roll of the dice there. I have no. I know of a game, but I always just thought it was called 10,000. I don't know if it has another name. Do you have any idea, Sam?
No, I don't think that's how you play Yahtzee, which is one of the only dice game I know. With
and
points.
I think Yahtzee was around before then, I would think.
I don't think that's how the points work in that game. I haven't played in a while, so
yeah, I don't know if we just called it 10,000 and it has a name, but that's what I would lock in with, I guess.
No, I defer to you.
Okay, 10,000.
It's from Matt's experience playing craps in the streets after dark. Yeah, we have no idea. The only dice games I know of are left, right, center, and the one Jeff and I both said maybe it's Yahtzee because I've never played Yahtzee, but we just said the obvious answer.
So no points here, as the name that I was looking for was Farkle.
Farkle?
Farkle.
Okay.
But now that I'm looking, I did a quick, because you said 10,000, and I'm trying to see if maybe it had a different name, but I know it as Farkle. So I think it seems like there might be
I would not give us points because I just guessed based on how many points were on it.
Now, does Farkle have a version that's a little bit more attractive called Farkel?
Maybe. It might.
That was for Matt.
I know who that's for.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and I'll move on to the next question, which is my oldest sister, named Jody. She likes to do a lot of crafting, but one of her biggest faves is Jane Austen, and she's actually a part of a Jane Austen society. They have meetings. It's really cool. So my question in that regard is, how many completed novels did Jane Austen write? And there's a bonus to this. And how many unfinished novels was she writing before she passed away?
So let's say the bonus will be worth 2 points.
That works.
Okay, we think we have the total number of novels locked in.
Okay, they seemed somewhat confident as they were writing down names of novels, which is an advantage over me, who will not be doing that. Do you have any idea, Sam?
Well, she wrote Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, so I know at least 2.
There's 2. Maybe it's a trilogy. Is there another one? Blank and Blank?
Blank and Blank.
Possibly.
Round up to 3.
Yeah, I feel like she had to have written another one. Maybe she was writing 3
She was like
others.
the Sue Grafton of her day. She had 26 in the alphabet series.
She just started in the middle.
Yeah. So let's, I guess, 3, and for a bonus 3 also.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah, Jeff, you could take the main one. I think for the bonus, we're going to say 2. I know she wrote one called The Watsons that was unfinished, and I'm just assuming there's probably one more, but you can go, Jeff.
Yeah, and for the other one, we think there's 6. We knew, is that Mansfield Park?
Yeah.
Emma, Jane Eyre, Pride and Prejudice, and Sensibility, and I think there's one more. So we said
Persuasion, maybe?
Oh, it is Persuasion.
Okay.
Yeah, so we said 6.
So in my research, what I found was that she wrote 7 books in total. Some were not published, but were published after she passed. And then she had 2 books that were not completed.
So just bonus points for dissertation offended.
Yep. And so we'll go ahead and move on. Number 4 in the first round is my sister Teresa. Teresa is heavily involved in the theater. Since she was young, she's done a lot of public theater. She helps out with her friends that do one-act championships all the time. She'll get into the theater whenever she has time. So in that theme, there are many jobs in the production of a play. But what position is tasked with the creation of the prompt book, which contains the production's sound, lighting, and set cues, as well as other vital information?
We're locked in.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, Neal. Have you ever done this position?
That's a private question.
I know. That was for Neal. If he's not paying attention, he's a busy man. Sam, I've never been in a play. I've seen 2 plays. They were very good. But I have no idea here.
Plays, would recommend. Is this part of your beer review?
Yeah.
Yes. So I did technical theater in high school. And so creating the prompt book, I was a stage manager. So I remember, I'm going to say stage manager, but I'm going to feel really stupid if it's not that. So
Okay. Are we going to feel stupid, Neal?
No, I think you're right on the money. So shout out to our friend Vicky Whooper. She's a stage manager on Broadway. The answer is stage manager.
And as Neal said, both teams are correct. It is the stage manager. All right. So number 5, we're going to go with my sister Beth. So one of our holiday traditions for most of my family is to watch The Nightmare Before Christmas. And Beth is a very big fan of that film. She has a lot of memorabilia, has all kinds of stuff. And so my question of that is, while Tim Burton's name is synonymous with the film, he did not direct it. What director whose resume includes Coraline, James and the Giant Peach, and the recent Wendell and Wild, directed The Nightmare Before Christmas?
We can lock in.
Okay. They are locked in right away. Not a Tim Burton joint. People seem to think so. That would have been my guess. Sam, do you know?
no, I know it's not Tim Burton, and I can never get the other name to stick.
Yeah.
Maybe after today.
We always think that, but I listen back to these episodes after I've been on them and I hear the answer and I still don't know it, which will probably be the case here as well. So let's say that Danny Elfman took a turn from the music studio and decided to direct.
That's a great guess, though. Yeah, so Danny Elfman did the singing voice for Jack Skellington. Chris Sarandon did the acting voice from Fright Night and other movies. This is actually going to be in the book I've been working on. It's coming out pretty soon in October.
That's
the answer,
cheating.
the answer is Henry Selick.
And one team will be getting points. It is, in fact, Henry Selick.
And with that, pretty strong start to the game here. A little bit challenging, but for Dissertation Offended, we got 32 points. And Beer Reviewed, a little bit behind with 20 points. But plenty of time to catch up.
Yeah, and some respect for Henry Selick, hopefully, because his name always gets forgotten. And in the process of writing the book, it has to be labeled Disney's Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas, because his name
It's just
always,
buried.
always has to be in front of it. Yeah, so
He's
poor Henry
overshadowed by
Selick.
his brother Tom, I imagine.
Yeah, right. Well, he couldn't grow a mustache, so he never became
That's the
famous
problem.
enough.
Yeah.
It's the same problem you have, right?
It is. Yeah, that is a chronic problem for me.
All right, and so we'll get ready for the second half of the first round. Number 6, this is for my sister, Tina. Tina enjoys collecting vinyl records. And so we have just a pretty simple question. What is the best-selling vinyl record of all time? It was an album released in 1982, and it has sold 66 million units since its release. What is this scary album?
Feel good about that? Okay, we're going to lock in.
How many vinyl records do you own?
Zero. But
okay.
I'm guessing this is Thriller by Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I was on the fence until I heard Scary album. I think that's kind of like a clue that'll lead us to that. So I'm good with Thriller.
Matt was off the wall a little bit until he heard Scary. Yeah, we're going to lock in with the Quincy Jones, some might call a masterpiece, Thriller.
And both teams getting points. It is, in fact, Thriller. All right, moving on to number 7. Number 7 is for my sister, Mary. My sister loves to craft. And every year, my sisters have a craft exchange where they go and they have lunch and they exchange crafts that they've made. This is every Christmas for us. And then I believe last year or the year before, she used wool to create a diorama of a music group from a childhood television special that my family loves. Now, this special was released in 1977 on CBC TV and would eventually run on HBO and eventually on ABC. It was produced and it was directed by Jim Henson and takes place in the fictional place of Frogtown Hollow. What is this special?
Oh, this was just in the other book. They cut it though. Hold on, just give me a second.
If they cut it from the book, it's also gone from Neal's mind.
It is.
Yeah, that's how it works. That's why Neal's writing so much. It's just so he can remember.
Okay, so looks like the other team is locked in. So this one, I know it, Jeff. It's like a band of like gophers or something, and they go to a talent show, and then they play this other band, I think, called The Nightmare, that are really good. If I'm thinking of the right thing, and they're like a jug band, like they have like the washboard.
This is a dream that you had when you were real sick.
Jug band. If I'm thinking of the right thing, it's a Christmas special.
Yeah, he was definitely on
introducing
NyQuil.
Christmas?
Yeah, Neal was on NyQuil for this.
Okay. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, but I could be way off, and maybe this
is correct.
If Neal had a NyQuil nightmare about that, I had the same one. I'm pretty sure we locked in with Jug Band Christmas. I couldn't come up with the name or the type of sea creature, river monster, or whatever it is. I guess an otter, but we just said Jug Band Christmas.
So one team's getting points because Neal, in his infinite wisdom, pulled it out. It is Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
That's what I said would happen. I was like, Neal's going to somehow...
You don't want to give them points for Jug Band Christmas?
I would like to give them points. I apologize. I didn't know if the rules of the game...
I'll take that.
Oh, no, the rules of the game are simple. We just make them up as we go along.
They're not as simple as Sharon led us to believe.
I think
Actually
half
way
points.
less complicated.
I think half points for Jug Band Christmas.
All right.
I'll take half points.
I would have given them full points had we gotten nothing, if I'm being honest. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah.
So for the Christmas book, I don't even know if it's still in there, but I asked the question of what the name of the competing band is, which I knew was The Nightmare, but I couldn't think of the title of the show that they're in, which, yeah.
Yeah, I'm from the life of me trying to remember the Nightmare, because it's something Nightmare, and now I've forgotten. Oh, River Bottom. It's the River Bottom Nightmare band, I believe.
Yeah, the River Bottom Gang is the Nightmare band. They travel around, they're going to beat the otters.
So I think
like Team Iceland.
I choose to believe that Disney paid homage to Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas in Zootopia because the name of the missing otter is Emmett.
Oh, I'm sure.
So we'll move on to question 8, which is for my sister Angie. So my sister Angie likes to dance. And so the question for this is, this dance, which originated in the 1880s along the Rio de la Plata, the natural border between Argentina and Uruguay, this dance has caused problems for the fictional characters Mark Cohen and Albert Gibson. What is this dance?
All right, Jeff and I wrote down as many dances as we could. We did some dances, and then
It was
Jeff,
not a lot, let's be honest. We're not very good dancers.
and Jeff learned about what the grossness of Marlon Brando in a certain movie. So we're going to lock in with an answer.
Oh, boy. They're locked in. 80s dances. You were not alive, correct?
I was not.
You were not there, unfortunately.
Wasn't it 1880s?
1880s.
So
I wasn't alive.
Definitely not.
The statement stands.
Ken was the only one alive at the time.
Because he's immortal.
He's a vampire.
I honestly have absolutely no idea. Sambas, you got your...
Matt, is this the Tango de la Muerte?
I don't believe so. That is a name that I know, though. I was literally the entire time thinking of 1980s dances. I was like Cabbage Patch, Moonwalk. I was so far off on this that I have absolutely no idea. I don't know those characters. You don't know those characters.
No, I was thinking like tango or like, I don't know if it's from Argentina, but like Paso Doble, because that's more of like a battle dance, but I'm not really entirely.
I like the idea of a battle dance. So what was that? Paso Doble?
Yes.
All right.
I know that from Dancing with the Stars. So
Excellent. Locked in.
So Jeff and I wanted to go with the easy answer because we couldn't come up with another dance. And then once I reheard the question, it took me a second. But those are characters from Rent. So we said tango.
So one team will be getting points. It is the tango. And so Mark Cohen is actually from Rent, but Albert Gibson is from True Lies, to which also the tango gets him. But it's funny that you bring up Paso Doble, because Paso Doble, another favorite film of my family, is a film called Strictly Ballroom. And the Paso Doble features somewhat in that film. So it's funny that you bring it up.
Baz Luhrmann.
Yep.
If there was a Tango and Cash clue, I would have gotten it.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to number 9, and number 9 is me. So I am a very big fan of the San Antonio Spurs. And so my favorite player outside of Tim Duncan is a small forward who is a 3-time NBA champion, a 5-time NBA All-Defensive First Team, and is considered to be one of the most feared perimeter lockdown defenders in NBA history. Who is this player who retired in 2009?
Okay, Jeff and I wrote down some names, talked about Desperate Housewives a little bit for some reason, but we think we figured out another person that might be the answer, so we're locking in.
Okay. Sam, any thoughts on Spurs players?
No, this
Okay.
is all you.
Yeah. So my first thought was Ginobili, but he retired later than 2009. This would be somebody who was on the 3 championships in the mid 2000s for the Spurs. My only guess would be Sean Elliott, who played small forward for them, and I might be him, but I'm not sure. But that's the best I got, so we can lock in with Sean Elliott.
We had a similar conversation.
Yeah, Neal and I had mentioned all of the big 3, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and the one we went with, who is, I believe, Argentinian and also not very small. And we said Manu Ginobili.
So unfortunately, no points to go this round. The player that I was looking for was Bruce Bowen. And he was sometimes considered a dirty player, but he was my favorite because he was a defender. He would always lock down on the opposing team's best player, and so he would typically shut them down, which helped the Spurs win those championships. And that's the end of the first round, because I'm doing the 9 questions. We'll do 11 in the second round.
All right, so that brings us to our score update. Dissertation Offended in the lead with 62 points, and Beer Reviewed trailing with 35 points. But that can all change in the swing round. But first, a message about Patreon.
Yeah, we're just so excited. We're only about 25 patrons away from our goal for 2024, which is 600, which is crazy. We're almost at the half point of the year, which I believe, Jeff, is July 2nd. And we're nearly to our goal for 2024, which is awesome. So thank you to all of our patrons. If you'd like to join Sam and Stephen in getting a bunch of bonus audio content, including 4 bonuses a month, that's 3 trivia bonuses written by us and a crop drop, which is an Ask Me Anything style bonus episode that you can get every month. You can go to patreon.com/trivialitypodcast. And you'll also get all of our backlog, which is over 50 hours, Ken. I feel like
What a great value.
Yeah, we're just excreting content at an alarming rate.
Yeah, it sounds a lot better if you put it like that.
Yeah, exactly. So
They should see a doctor for that much excreting.
If you'd like to enjoy all of that content, go to patreon.com/trivialitypodcast.
And on to the swing round. What do you have for us today, Stephen?
So my brother Charlie, he's the one that got me into trivia, and I asked him if he could write the swing round, and he cordially did it for me. And so the swing round for today's theme is going to be brains, and it's going to be match the cause of the zombie apocalypse with the correct movie or series.
I like that.
That's cool.
So we'll go ahead and get started. So I will start. Number 1, the Salonom virus has broken out and decimated entire populations periodically throughout human history. Fluid-based, it enters the brain via the bloodstream and has no known cure. Number 2, an attempt to re-engineer the measles virus to cure cancer kills 99% of the planet and creates vampiric, cannibalistic zombies that hate the sunlight. Number 3, the cordyceps fungus leaps from insect world to turn half of all humans into tendril-spouting zombies. Number 4, An evil pharmaceutical corporation develops the T virus or tyrant virus to create bioorganic weapons and deliberately release it unto unsuspecting populations. Number 5. A demon is awakened whose bite turns humans into deadites, who can create others with scratches or bites. Removing the infected limb can stop the spread. Number 6. A group of animal rights activists frees a monkey experimentally infected with the rage virus, which then rapidly spreads to humanity. Number 7. A leak from a biological factory spreads first to wildlife and then creates human zombies that are incredibly fast and strong, but only see in the daylight, and even then react mainly to movement. Number 8. An infected burger spreads a mutated version of mad cow disease to humans, causing their brains to swell, and the results in them having a severe case of the munchies. Number 9. Radiation from a space probe returning from Venus causes the dead to begin rising from their graves. And finally, number 10. This movie slyly refuses to reveal the cause of the zombie outbreak, floating such theories as crashed space probe, infected monkey, or genetically modified crops by shooting down all of them as the film progresses.
All right, we have the descriptions of those properties, and we'll be right back as these people try to figure it out.
At Mayo Clinic in Florida, we are predicting the unpredictable. Our experts are using a patient's own anatomy to create 3D printed, life-size organ models to map out challenges ahead of time, making complex surgeries more precise, efficient, and less invasive. We are making more possible at Mayo Clinic because every day we're doing what's never been done. Learn more at mayoclinic.org/possible. Mayo Clinic. You know where to go.
All right, all the answers are now in, so let's go ahead and get a brief description of those, and we'll see what we got.
All right, so number 1, which was the Salanamu virus that is broken out, and it is fluid-based. It enters the brain via the bloodstream and has no known cure.
Yeah, for this one, we knew it was fluid-based, and we said to Jeff, who would you most like to swap fluids with? And he said Brad Pitt. I said World War Z. So that's what we locked in with.
And for us, we said The Walking Dead.
And so one team will get the points. It is, in fact, World War Z.
Ooh, spoiler, we're going to get number 10 wrong.
So number 2, an attempt to re-engineer the measles virus to cure cancer, and it kills 99% of the planet and creates vampiric cannibalistic zombies that hate sunlight.
Yeah, this one, surprisingly in the lore, if you slap them for putting their wife's name in their mouth, it doesn't work. We said I Am Legend.
Originally, I was thinking of a band that Ken enjoys and said He Is Legend. But then I remembered it's I Am Legend, so we said I Am Legend.
They almost wrote the same thing.
We hear Ken talking about it so much, it was in my brain.
So both teams are getting points. It is, in fact, I Am Legend. All right, number 3. The cordyceps fungus leaps from the insect world to turn half of all humans into tendril-sprouting zombies.
We think this is The Last of Us?
We agree, The Last of Us.
And both teams getting points. It's one of my favorite games and has become one of my favorite TV shows. So moving on to number 4, an evil pharmaceutical corporation develops the T virus or tyrant virus, and deliberately releases it onto the unsuspecting population.
Yeah, we knew Resident Evil has an evil corporation. I think it's the Umbrella Corporation. So we just kind of put 2 and 2 together, and we're just taking a guess. Resident Evil.
Oh, we are on the same page today. We also said Resident Evil.
And both teams get points. It is, in fact, Resident Evil.
I thought we were getting none of these, and we're doing surprisingly well so far.
Yes.
So number 5, a demon is awakened whose bite turns humans into deadites, who can create others with scratches and bites. Removing the infected limb can stop the spread.
Yeah, this one we saw demon and infected limb made us think of Ash, so we locked in with Evil Dead.
Us too, Evil Dead.
And you are both correct. It is, in fact, Evil Dead. All right, number 6. A group of animal rights activists frees a monkey experimentally infected with the rage virus, which then spreads to humanity.
Yeah, this one, I believe the third film in the franchise was just announced, possibly, but we went 28 days later.
We had a movie with a number in it. We said 12 Monkeys.
One team getting points is in fact 28 days later.
How many days later is the new one?
28 years later.
Oh, okay.
But how many days is that, Neal? That's what he
Do the
asked
math.
for.
365 times 28? I have no idea.
Well, plus or minus the occasional one for the leap years, right?
Oh, my God.
All right, so moving on to number 7. A leak from a biological factory spreads first to wildlife and then creates human zombies that are incredibly fast and strong and can only see in the daylight, even then react mainly to movement.
This one seems to have scared Ken the most, if it actually happened. I think we were taking a guess here. I've actually never seen it. I've always wanted to. We said Train to Busan.
We did not say that. We actually weren't even sure if this was a zombie movie, but more of aliens, but we just went with A Quiet Place.
So A Quiet Place is an alien film, and the correct answer is actually Train to Busan. And so moving on to number 8. An infected burger spreads a mutated version of mad cow disease to humans, causing their brains to swell, and the results in them having a severe case of the munchies.
Yeah, this one, we wrote down a bunch of zombie movies when we didn't know where they would fit. And when we heard Munchies and Mad Cow, we knew one of them was a comedy, so we said Zombieland.
So we were between Zombieland and the one we went with, which was actually Shaun of the Dead.
So one team getting points again. It is in fact Zombieland. Number 9, radiation from a space probe returning from Venus causes the dead to begin rising from their graves.
Yeah, this is the last one. We knew somewhere Night of the Living Dead had to be on this list, and this one had to do with graves, which that's where they come from in those movies. So we said Night of the Living Dead.
Yep. Same over here, Night of the Living Dead.
Both teams get points on that one. It is Night of the Living Dead. And finally, number 10. This movie slyly refuses to reveal the cause of the zombie outbreak, floating such theories as crashed space probe, infected monkey, genetically modified crops, but shooting down all of them as the film progresses.
Yeah, this one was the other comedy in our eyes, and we figured Shaun of the Dead would make fun of the tropes, so that's what we locked in with.
Oh, boo. We went with World War Z.
One team getting points again. It was Shaun of the Dead.
So one team going perfect in the swing round, actually. Dissertation bringing in 50 points to bring your score to 112. Beer going 50-50 on that, so 60 points in total.
So moving on to round 2, we'll move to the first question, which is my nephew Alec. So my nephew Alec likes to travel, and so we'll do a travel question. And with a whopping 14 million foreign tourists every year, what are the top 3 most visited cities in the United States?
You do a lot of traveling, Sam?
A little bit, not too much, but I mean, I listed, I think, some of the obvious ones like New York City. I did Los Angeles. I did Washington, D.C.
Yeah. So I think Los Angeles and New York are probably like 2 guaranteed answers. I feel like those would be the 2 big ones. And then for the third one, I was actually thinking Vegas. I think that Vegas might be something where internationally it's one of the places you'd want to go. Just like as a fun trip. Like DC is great like for historians and stuff, but I think like if people are going on an international trip, Vegas might be where they go.
No, that makes sense to me. I'm good with that.
Okay, we're going to go LA, New York, and Las Vegas.
Great reasoning by the other team there. We agree on New York City and LA. And for our third one, we had both thought, everyone loves to go to Disney. So we thought Orlando.
So each team will get some points. And so they didn't need to be in any order, but I'll give them to you in order. New York, which has average of 6.99 million tourists. And then Miami, which is 4.09 million. And then number 3 is Orlando with 2.92 million.
I did not even consider Orlando. That's a good poll.
I didn't think about Miami.
Yeah, I was like,
Miami.
Thanks to Will Smith.
I was going to say, bienvenidos a Miami. Yeah.
Again.
So Los Angeles was kind of close at 4 with 2.75. And then Vegas is actually much lower at 1.66 million. All right, so moving on to number 2, which is going to be the first set of twins in my family. So the first twin is Chaz. So Chaz likes fighting games, and he's actually introduced me to many that I didn't know. So this question is themed fighting games. This series of fighting games premiered in 1987 and consists of 7 main titles and many spin-offs. It was created by Takeshi Nishiyama and Hiroshi Matsumoto. What is this fighting game series?
All right, Neal and I have come to a conclusion. Not feeling very strong on this one, but we'll lock it in.
1987. That's a pretty old game. Do you have any idea?
No, I do not.
Not a big fighting game aficionado.
Not a big video games person. So.
Okay. My first thought, multiple series and spin-offs. 1987. I think we're looking at Street Fighter. I think that there's like 6 different versions of Street Fighter 2 that keep coming out. And there's like Marvel versus Capcom, which I think is in the Street Fighter universe.
Don't forget Street Fighter, the movie, the game.
The movie, the game. Sorry, what was it? Jean-Claude Van Damme was in that, possibly.
Yeah. Raul Julia.
Classics. So I think let's go with the old standby Street Fighter.
Yeah, forgetting about some of the Street Fighter extended universe. Neal and I had discussed that, and Tekken, Mortal Kombat, and but I couldn't remember Street Fighter having that many titles, so we just guessed Soul Calibur because I think they're still cranking those out.
So Beer Reviewed is going to get points. It is in fact Street Fighter. Street Fighter 6 just came out not too long ago, and the 7th title in the main series is actually called Street Fighter Alpha. So that's why there's only 6 numbered titles.
Now, Sam, is your dissertation on the fact that it's better to not play video games like Street Fighter and just fight in the streets for real?
You know what? I will let you know when I get the results back from that.
All
but
right.
that's what we're working on.
Okay.
Why fake it,
Yeah, right. Just dress up like what's his name, Bile? Is it Bile?
Bile? Guile.
Hey, everyone,
it's just a puddle of bile.
That's his finishing move. He just gets
That's what happens to Neal as soon as he sees Blanca. Just all the bile starts coming out.
I think it's because of all my own acid reflux. I'm just subconsciously thinking that the villain is Bile.
It's been there the whole time. The villain's within you.
So we'll go ahead and move on to number 3, to the other twin of Chaz and Joey. So one of Joey's favorite things is plants. And so this question's themed around that. The Lilium lancifolium is an Asian species of lily native to China, Japan, Korea, and the Russian Far East. It has orange and black flowers. J.M. Barrie may have been a fan. What is the English name for this plant?
All right, they're locked in. Let's talk plants, I guess.
Well, I can't talk plants, but I think I picked up the hint. So J.M. Barrie, he wrote Peter Pan. And
Okay.
Tiger Lily is a character in Peter Pan. And with
Okay.
orange and black, that is...
Not a Captain
things
Hook.
leading me there.
Captain Hook Lily. Probably not.
Not Smee Lily,
No.
I think.
Okay, Tiger Lily. That was what I was thinking anyway. So if there's a clue that leads to that, that's perfect.
So, Jeff, I know first I wrote down Shmee Lily, but you thankfully corrected me.
Yeah, Neal is a big fan of maritime law. But yeah, we did lock in with Tiger Lily.
And both teams will get points. The answer is, in fact, Tiger Lily. So number 4, my niece Lydia. So one of the things she said she liked was Coca-Cola. And so the question will be about that. So the Coca-Cola polar bears are some of the most recognizable brand icons. Now, while they first appeared in a 1922 French ad, they would not become popular until the 1990s. And so in what year did the polar bear animated campaign start? And what I mean is it basically started coming out yearly. It became very popular. What year in the 90s did it start?
So recently was at the Coca-Cola Museum.
It's a cool museum
in Atlanta, Georgia, and I would love to tell you that I had an abiding memory of some of the excellent international Fanta flavors that they had. The Philippines and Thailand seem to be doing it right. But the only memory I have is that the Chinese Fanta sour plum was the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth, by a long margin.
What is it up
Worse
against,
than the
Jeff?
Hot Carl?
Oh yeah.
What?
Oh yeah. It was just so upsetting.
Okay. Wow.
I knew. See, here's the thing: is I thought there was a chance. The Hot Carl I knew was going to be bad, and my expectations were just so.
I'm shocked.
So dashed, Ken.
Sour plum.
It was horrid. I would not recommend.
Coke reviewed.
Smelled like
Jeff.
a sweaty boot.
So we're looking at the 90s.
You got a 10% chance, Neal.
I know. Okay, Jeff and I have an answer. We're going to lock in.
All right, locked in. Now, luckily, I've written this question before for a Christmas game, I believe. So I do know it, and it's 1993, a great year.
We were hoping Lydia liked The Strange and Unusual, like Beetlejuice, but we'll just settle. We said the Olympics, so we thought maybe 96.
They were in Atlanta,
right?
That year, so
maybe it was like a big reveal for Coca-Cola.
So Beer Reviewed will be getting points, and Matt is correct. It is 1993. And Lydia is somewhat inspired by Beetlejuice. That was what her mother, I believe, was one of the inspirations for her mother to name her Lydia. So
love it.
All right, so we'll move on to number 5, which is my nephew Dylan. Now, Dylan is an amazing saxophone player. Like, I think he's going to be a professional. You guys might hear of him in the future. So his name is Dylan Martin. So the saxophone is a relatively new musical instrument. Who invented the saxophone in 1846?
I hope that's true, because that should be a comedy sketch. But yes, okay, we're locked in.
I have no idea. All I have are joke answers. So
like Bleeding Gums Murphy.
Yeah.
No.
Steve Sachs. Lots of.
I think the initials are AS, and I don't know why I can't, like, Sanger or something, but
something.
Something.
A something.
A something. But
who is inventing stuff in the 18? Is this Thomas Jefferson? Was he dead? Probably dead.
Probably. Have to check.
Founding father and saxophone inventor.
Thomas Edison, that's who I was actually thinking of.
That's what I thought. I was like, I'll just let you go.
No, I need to be called out when I'm wrong.
No.
So we got nothing on this one, right?
Yeah, we can put Abe Sanger. But
Abe Sanger. A name.
Love Abe Sanger.
Well, we agree the other team's initials were 100% correct. I'm pretty sure this is Adolphe Sax. Because, yeah.
It shouldn't be real. It's not like Adolf comes into the town and he's like starts scatting and they're like, you should put that into an instrument, Adolf. And
well, he invented like a bunch of other instruments, like the sax tromba, the sax horn, sax tuba, that never caught on.
The sack butt.
No sack butt, which is the old name for a trombone, but the saxophone did take off, so.
And Jeff is completely correct. Adolphe Sax was the one who created the saxophone.
Amateur saxophone player here, so amateur at best.
Big sax guy
but
over there.
Jeff's not going anywhere. So
I'm definitely not going anywhere.
Don't take a look out for his budding career.
I'm still hoping people will hear of my name one day from this show, but we'll see how that goes.
We're excited to hear Dylan.
All right, the scores are now 138 to 93 with Dissertation still in the lead.
Okay, moving on to number 6. My niece, Lily. Lily likes spicy foods, and so that question is what this will be based on. So, at well over 10 times hotter than a jalapeno pepper, Scotch bonnet peppers are a sweet but fiery addition to cuisines worldwide. However, they are particularly popular when used in which style of international cuisine?
Okay, we're looking for international cuisine styles with peppers. I don't know.
Me either.
Seems
I'm
like
also not a spice.
seems like a
person.
spicy pepper.
That's a spicy pepper.
Not a fan usually. Ghost peppers, Carolina Reapers, pass. No thanks. Neal obviously pass. He's a mild man over there. So
Try to understand. He's a mild man.
what would be so like
That's why I still haven't seen Dune, because I just can't handle spice.
like paella? Is that a style or is that like a specific thing?
That was more specific, but I don't have a good guess for this.
Yeah,
So
I would guess it'd be something either South American or
yeah,
something in the spice regions. So
Chilean. I don't know.
yeah, let's just go with paella because it's tasty.
You know who makes a great paella? George's mom.
Oh, I've heard that.
So I think this is actually one of Matt's favorite characters in comedy history. The Jerk.
Oh, the Jerk.
Is that Steve Martin? No, I know Scotch bonnet is used in Jamaican cooking. So we just said Jerk. Didn't know if that's a style, but.
So one team is going to get points. It is in fact jerk, more specifically Caribbean jerk was what I had, but I think jerk works. So number 7, Eve. This is another one of my nieces. She loves stuffed animals. And so one of her favorite types of stuffed animals was created in 2017 by Kelly Toys Holdings. And they gained popularity during the COVID pandemic on outlets like TikTok, where collectors would post about their collections. What is this collectible stuffy brand?
Is that a thing? That's a thing, right? But is that the thing?
Yeah, right. That makes sense, actually, because now you're thinking about it, because that was like early in the pandemic when I first started going on TikTok, and yeah, a lot of people had those. Yeah, I'm fine with that, Jeff. I think you're in the right ballpark. Those are the type that were pretty popular, so we're locked in.
Okay. During the pandemic, I did not have any of these. I wrote down fluff mallow, or is it squishmallow?
I wrote down squishmallows.
Okay, that's what it's actually called.
I think.
All right, I knew it was something like that. They're those like kind of fluffy, just ball like looking things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, we can lock in with squishmallow.
Yeah, thankfully, Jeff, you wrote down, I think, the right answer.
Yeah, we said Squishmallow.
And both teams are going to get points because it is, in fact, Squishmallows. And so we'll go ahead and move to number 8, which is another set of twins, Cooper and Everett. And we're going to start with Cooper. So Cooper loves train rides. And so we'll do a train question. So at a staggering 267 miles per hour, what country has the fastest passenger train in the world?
It's not the U.S. Our trains are very slow.
Very slow.
So I'm thinking it's probably Japan or China. Is that?
Yeah. I wrote down, my guess was Japan, but.
Well, yeah, because that's where it's like the bullet train. Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, that's exactly
Okay.
my line of thinking. So.
All right. We're going to lock in with Japan.
Okay. So are you thinking, you wrote down China, France, and I wrote down Japan. What were you thinking in France?
So the TGV, I know they did a modified version of it that achieved speeds of like 375 miles an hour.
Okay.
And I know Japan is working on an update to the bullet train, which is capable of something like 500 kilometers an hour or something like that, which will be amazing. It's like twice as fast as it runs now, something like that. I thought China had usurped the record for some reason. Over like a really short, like Japan has a much more extensive, rail system of that high speed, but I think over like China did like one route that's like faster to, you know how those records go. So
we can go with that.
My guess was China, although France, I don't know why those are in my brain, but we'll just guess China.
And Jeff hits it right on the head. It was a short stint in China, the Shanghai maglev, I believe is what it's called. So China is the correct answer.
50-50.
All right, so moving on to the other twin, number 9 is Everett. So Everett loves word games. And so the question is, the online game Wordle was released in 2021. It grew in popularity over its first year and was eventually acquired by the New York Times. What Welsh software engineer created Wordle?
I don't know if I'm going to
Guess
pull.
the answer. It's 5 letters, and you have 5 attempts.
I have no idea, Jeff. I played Wordle for like the first week it came out, and
then you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah, what am I
doing here?
Oh boy. You play any Wordle?
Yes, and I think I know the answer because I'm not sure of his first name, but it might be Josh because he created it for his wife, and I think it's Wardle. Like you just changed the O and A. Like I think he built it off of his last name, so it's Wordle but with an A. So Wardle. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
I love it.
That's clever.
My favorite
I think
Pokemon.
it's that.
Wordle. Let's go.
I was
That's
more of
why-
a Psyduck girly myself, but you know.
It makes sense why Sam is a PhD candidate, because that makes total sense. So we got Farkle and Wardle. We just picked a citizen of Wales and thought maybe they would be smart enough to create this app. So we said Michael Sheen.
And Sam nailed it right on the head. It's Josh Wardle.
I think Farkle and Wardle is the lost, unpublished Jane Austen book.
It is, yeah, that is the Jane Austen book that was lost. Yeah, they were a law firm, much like or like detectives like Rizzoli and Isles or Franklin and Bash, the law firm.
But they're like lawyers who found love.
Exactly,
It's like a cozy romance.
It was a Regency era, comfy romance.
All right, so moving on to number 10, which is my nephew Griffin, who likes board games. So the game Exploding Kittens is one of his favorites. The game is a deck-building game designed by Matthew Inman, Elon Lee, and Shane Small. Matthew Inman's art is a key piece of the game. What is the webcomic that Matthew Inman is better known for?
They're locked in. Have you ever played Exploding Kittens?
Once, actually, with my nephew, but I don't.
Named Griffin?
No, Patrick.
Okay.
So he gets a shout out.
Different nephew.
Different nephew. I only have 7 compared to Stephen's 11. So
Yeah. Well, there's still time. I think for webcomics, when I think of these, I think of the Oatmeal. I think a lot of webcomics kind of took from that art style. So if you're cool, we can lock in with the Oatmeal.
Yes, sounds great to me.
I have never heard of that. But I think Exploding Kittens would have been even funnier if it was stick figures. So we just jokingly said XKCD.
And Matt is eating his breakfast. Is it in fact the oatmeal? And so finally, we'll move on to question 11, which is my last niece or nephew, which is my niece, Cordy. So Cordy is a fan of Nintendo games, and one of her favorite series is a social simulation game where we meet characters such as Isabelle, Tom Nook, KK Slider, and Timmy and Tommy. What is this game?
This got me through 2020. I would often try and get my acorns purchased by Elijah Wood. Was that the one who was like all over the place? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff was smiling too. So
Jeff went heavily into debt, I imagine, to Mr. Tom Nook. Was he the landlord? I can't remember. Have you played this, Sam?
I have not played it, but I can't pull the name. My thing was actually frozen for a little bit, so
you missed all of that. That's all right.
Not all of it, but I missed the question. So, but sounds like you know it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is Animal Crossing.
Yes. Yep. I mean, you know it. I'm just agreeing with you.
Thank you for agreeing.
Now hold on. Let me say this really quick. People malign Tom Nook, but he offers you a 0 interest, infinite term mortgage loan. So he's a hero and a philanthropist.
When do we get our squatters' rights in Animal Crossing? That's what I want to know.
He's the opposite of a slumlord.
Yeah, Jeff, I don't know what anything anyone has said means, but do you know what the answer is?
I agree with Ken about socialist hero Tom Nook, but we said Animal Crossing.
And both teams getting points. It is in fact Animal Crossing.
Right? Infinite term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it's
interest.
zero interest. I don't know about the terms, but even still, like, zero interest is.
Hello.
If you
I'd
if you
kill
play
for
long
those
enough, there's a
terms.
balloon payment. I think in year 15.
Oh, I
actually.
see.
That's
I see.
what
That's
What a crook. Well, that brings us to the end of regulation and dissertation offended, holding their lead throughout the whole game, 178, but creeping up on them is beer reviewed with 133.
So we just wanted to say one more thank you to Sam and Stephen for being patrons. I just was able to send out, I think it was 7 letters a couple days ago, which was fun. So we got a nice welcome letter for you with some stickers if you join us on Patreon. But that's not all. Jeff, what are some of the great perks that we're excited to give all of the folks who support the show?
Yeah, so Neal wasn't telling you the whole truth there. We only let him go outside when he gets to send the Patreon letter. So please sign up and support so we can get Neal out of doors a little bit more often.
He needs a little more vitamin D.
I do.
That might be true anyways. No, Neal's indoor habits are because he thinks inside is the best side. But that being said...
I guess I'm a serial killer now, but you know what you can do is you can help support the show at Triviality Podcast by going to patreon.com/Triviality
Yes, where you can get access to ad-free episodes, bonus episodes, and much, much more in exchange for your support of our show. And we greatly appreciate it. We really couldn't do the show without the patrons, and we thank them all so much.
And now on to the final round. What do we have for the categories today?
So the categories for the final round are going to be my in-laws, so my siblings' significant others. And so the first question will be Greta, which will be a question about companies. The second question will be my brother-in-law Wyatt, which will be a sports question. The third question will be my brother-in-law Steve, which will be a wrestling question. The fourth question will be my brother-in-law Dion, which will be a Star Wars question. And finally, the fifth question will be my brother-in-law Chad, which will be a question about musical instruments.
The wagers are now locked in. They're kind of all over the place, so we'll announce those wagers as we go. But let's go ahead and get the questions.
Okay, so for the final round, question number 1, my sister-in-law Greta. It is a company question. So this company produces Christmas crystal ornaments. It was founded in Ireland, and as of 2015, it is owned by the Fiskars Corporation. Number 2, my brother-in-law Wyatt, which is a sports question. And this is a little bit of callback to my last game. Who is the current all-time leading scorer for the U.S. women's national team with 188 goals in 255 appearances? Number 3, my brother-in-law Steve, which is the wrestling question. While I know that the Macho Man is a fave of the podcast, he is only 9th on the list of the longest reigning WWE champions with 371 days. Who was the longest reigning champion with a whopping 2,803 days as the champion? Number 4, my brother-in-law Dion, the Star Wars question. The character Wilro Hood was a human gas miner on Cloud City in Empire Strikes Back. He is famous for carrying a particular prop, a prop that was used again in the Mandalorian TV show. What is this prop made from in the real world? Number 5, Chad, musical instruments. My brother-in-law Chad, musical instruments. The band Heart has some amazing guitar parts. Guitarist Nancy Wilson played a guitar introduced by Fender in the 1950s. Its name would change after a trademark claim by rival maker Gretsch for Broadcaster, which was the name of their guitar. What is the name of this guitar currently?
All right, we have our questions. We'll be back after this break with the answers and the results. The answers are now locked in, so it's time to get those questions one more time and see who will be today's cream of the crop.
All right. So my sister-in-law Greta's question, which was based upon companies, it's this company's produces Christmas crystal ornaments. It was founded in Ireland, and as of 2015, it is owned by the Fiskars Corporation.
So Neal and I went hard on all these, wagering 30 points, which may have been foolish. But most famous crystal maker that we know of is Waterford, and that's what we guessed. So hopefully that's right.
All right. We wagered 15 for this one, and we said Swarovski.
And Neal and Jeff are going to get this one. It is actually Waterford. It's named after a town in Ireland. So number 2, which is my brother-in-law Wyatt, which is the sports question. Who is the current all-time leading scorer for the U.S. women's national team with 188 goals and 255 appearances?
Yep. Again, 30 points. The only reason I know this name is because Matt has brought her up a few times on the show, and we said Abby Wambach.
Mm-hmm. Yep. For this one, we wagered 20, and she's hometown hero from Rochester, New York, Abby Wambach.
And both teams getting points. It is Abby Wambach. So number 3, my brother-in-law Steve, which is the wrestling question. And as well, I know that the Macho Man is a fave of the podcast. He is only 9th on the list of the longest reigning WWE champions with 371 days. Who was the longest reigning champion with a whopping 2,803 days reign?
Yeah, this one, initially we wrote down Hulk Hogan because Roman Reigns is tying him or is going to pass him, but then you gave the day amount. It's much more than what they're at, and so I don't know. Anytime, this is just a guess, but anytime you talk about WWE and old-fashioned wrestlers who were around for a long time, we just said Bruno Sammartino.
Oh, we wagered 30, and yeah, they don't ever mention his reign because they don't think anyone's ever going to beat 2,000. But we said Bruno Sammartino.
And both teams are getting points. It is Bruno Sammartino. So number 4 for my brother-in-law Dion, it's a Star Wars question. The character Wilro Hood was a human gas miner in Cloud City in The Empire Strikes Back. He is famous for carrying a particular prop, a prop that was used again in the Mandalorian TV show. What is this prop made from in the real world?
All right. Neal and I didn't know. I know from the Mandalorian this character because he's barely in The Empire Strikes Back. I think it's like a jar or something with Beskar, so we just said a clay pot.
We wagered 15 for this one, and we had no idea what this was referring to, so we just guessed steel.
So both teams will be losing points. Is in fact an old school ice cream maker. One of the ones you put the ice around the outside and it spins in the middle.
I'll take your word for it.
I knew it was something goofy.
All right, moving on to question 5. Chad, musical instruments. The band Heart has some amazing guitar parts. Guitarist Nancy Wilson played a guitar introduced by Fender in the 1950s. Its name would change after a trademark claim by the rival maker Gretsch for Broadcaster. What is this guitar?
Yeah, Jeff and I both wrote down Stratocaster, so that's what we're liking with.
Yeah, I was between two. We were thinking of Fender, you're thinking of the Stratocaster, but we ended up going with the Telecaster. We wagered 10.
And Matt has it right. It is the Fender Telecaster.
Well, in that final round, both teams are picking up 30 points. Dissertation offended with 208, and just not enough for beer review. They ended with 163, making dissertation today's cream of the crop.
You're a winner, baby.
Great game, everyone. That was a lot of fun. And Stephen, wonderful questions and great theme as well.
I enjoyed querying my family about their favorite things, even if I had to claw it from them every now and then.
Well, great names in your family, too. Nice mix there. But let's start with you, Stephen. You put this wonderful game together. We enjoyed your game last year, and it was nice to see you again this year. Any shout-outs or anyone you'd like to say hello to before we let you go today?
All 74 of your family members. So
yeah. Say thank you to my family for providing these categories, and to my friends. I don't really have anything to plug at this time, but I just want to thank my family also. They just put together my 40th birthday party, which they turned my brother's house into a convention because I love to go in cons. It was called Stephen Con. So that was amazing and hilarious. And I got to run a D&D camp or a D&D one shot for my family as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, happy birthday. And Sam, we wish you just the best of luck with your PhD. We're so excited for you, and we appreciate you being here. Anyone you'd like to shout out before we let you go today?
Yeah, so I won't have the time as Stephen to list all of their names, but I will also shout out my parents and my 7 siblings and brothers and sisters-in-law, nieces and nephews, and my original team of Beer Reviewed. I'll shout them out as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. It was so nice meeting you, and look forward to seeing you again sometime soon. And Ken, as far as shout-outs are concerned, we always have to shout out Airwave.
That's right. You can find Airwave, our network, at airwavemedia.com and check out some other great podcasts, such as Earn and Invest, the Daily Meditation Podcast, and Sleep Tight, Relax.
Well, I think we're all about to sleep tight and relax a little bit after this episode. Maybe take a nap.
Take a nap before the next recording?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
See what we'll nap together, and we'll all cuddle together in a giant bed, a California king, as they say.
That sounds great. And that'll be it for today. Once again, want to thank Sam and Stephen for being on. For Matt, Jeff, Neal, and myself, that was Triviality.